Okay, so, first of all, I'm going to put on my gloves. They're ones they're ones I've used before, so they've already got some ink on them. That doesn't matter. Okay. So I've pre-prepared my black etching ink with a little bit of tack remover, and I've worked the tack remover through the etching ink really well with a palette knife on a sheet of glass. Okay, and that's ready to go onto my plate now. Okay, and I'm applying that with a squeegee. Okay, now I have to be very careful with this plate because they're joined at their hands, and that's getting right from the very first application of etching ink. That has been a very delicate join. Oh, and it's tearing because it's been through a few times, so I'm going to have to be very, very careful. If it does break, I can still use it because I can just join them together, but I prefer it if it didn't break. Okay, now everyone's got a preferred way of removing their etching ink from their plate. I believe the correct way is to use a flat bit of paper. That hasn't worked for me. I mean, it sort of works, but not really. It just kind of depends on the plate. So I use a ball. There's my inside ball, outside ball. Generally speaking, you're meant to use scrim or like a bit of cheesecloth or something. I haven't really tried that yet. I stick with the telephone book paper because it's free. Oops. Okay, this is the tricky part. Okay, so I'm holding the plate flat with my gloved hand and very carefully going to start removing the excess ink from the plate. This is the part where you're really working your abdominal muscles. Okay, at this point I can start to see some of the details on my plate. So I'm just going to very carefully, so it's not ready yet, but you can see the details starting to appear on my plate. So I'm just going to change hands. Start working on the top half. If you're not ambidextrous like me, you'll just turn your plate around. Be really careful here because this section's very delicate. Now, because part of my plate is tearing, how I would preserve my plate at this point is after I put it through the press this time, I will take it inside and glue that section of plate down. But because I've already inked it, I've got to get it through the press this time. Just covering that delicate section with my finger. Right. Turning my paper inside out. Right, now the ink's really coming off here, so I just have to be careful not to remove too much at this point, and I'm also trying to Be very careful with the delicate section of plate. It's a bit of a dance. If at any point I feel like I've taken too much off a section of plate, I can always, oh my goodness, his legs. I can always put it back on, put the ink back on, and start again with a small section, because there's always ink on the drop sheet, like that section of back there. I can start again and move it around. And this is where, with these ones, I have been using a flat sheet of paper a little bit. I've been trying to wipe off in the directionality of the wind. Yeah, I'm really going to have to repair that plate. Need some glue or some gloss medium. Now I'm just going to rub it his shirt a little bit. Sorry, I'm rubbing too hard. Okay, also their toes are getting a bit bent. Again, trying to rub in the direction of the wind, especially on their head and neck, their back and shoulders. Okay. So this is what the plate looks like before I lay it down on the paper up here. Now, hang on, I just need my, this is my Polaroid frame that I'm going to place down, and normally I'd have some form of registration up here on the print bed, but the Polaroid frame is my registration for this print. Placing them in there, and I want their little feet tucked just behind, making sure everything looks fairly square, because that's what I'm going to be relying on to make sure that my paper placed down on top is square. You'll see underneath here I've got a plastic, what is a Japanese etching plate that's been unused, and then I've got a piece of paper because the plate underneath is not clean because I had oil paints on it from a previous etching I was doing. So I've got the paper, and then I've got my plates. Hang on, there's something on the, got little fluffy bits there. Right. If you've got any little stray bits poking out at this point, you need to get rid of them because they will come through on the print. Right, making sure everything's straight. It's a bit fiddly. Okay, and then I've got another couple of bits of paper here. This catches water and anything that seeps through, any ink that seeps through, so it doesn't go through to your blankets. Okay, and then I've got my top blanket. All right, so I'm going to get my paper at this point. Oops, hang on, I need my clean gloves so that my paper doesn't get dirty, because I've got ink on my hands. Paper. Okay, now, sorry, I walked into my press. Now I'm going to line it up by eye as best I can, pop it down. Okay, sheets go down. You should use proper registration. I don't. Okay, now because this is the first time through today, I don't have the pressure settings yet. So I'm going to, the first time through, I'll be gauging it by feel. Take my glasses off because I can't stand running the press with my glasses on. All right, so we're going down. So we're going to touch the blankets and then go a little tighter again. And as we hit the plate, I'll be able to feel whether it's tight enough or it needs to go tighter or loosen off, basically. Because I know Liza that well. Okay, so here we go. Coming through. There's the plate, it's too tight. So we're going to loosen off. Oh my goodness. Which way? This way. It's far too tight. Okay. It's very cold in the studio, so my nose is running. Right, now it's too loose. So I'm just going to tighten just a little bit. And here we go. So it needs to be firm because we're making that impression and we want the ink to transfer. But it can't be so tight that we just can't move it through. Okay, and back we go. Okay, probably could have been a little bit tighter, but it should be all right. Okay, we don't want to squish our thing out of shape. Up we go. Here we are. Lifting up. Everything's coming up. Beautiful. And you can see from the plate I showed you earlier when it was inked up before it went through, absolutely perfect amount of ink. And honestly, I could probably pop another sheet of paper through and get a ghost print from that, the ink that's left on the plate. Okay, and I hope that helps you figure out how much ink to leave on your Tetrapak printing plate.